If you've ever wondered what a non-League player thinks of Arcane, how enjoyable it was without any prior knowledge at all based on only the Netflix show, how it is to be in a lore vacuum, if you will, I'm your guy. In this video, we'll talk about every storyline in Arcane. Character arcs, storytelling cliches and novelties, cool editing techniques, we'll go through it all. But there's a lot to say. So I decided not to make one video of Arcane, but probably like 3 more after this one. Maybe 1, I don't know. But I want to break down all the plot lines in detail and explore the themes of the show. If you want to see those deep dives as well, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. So, Season 1 is over, and they already announced Season 2, good stuff. Contrary to the last video, this one is full of spoilers. If you haven't seen Arcane yet, go and watch that video first. Click here or go to the video description below. So, let's get into it. First, we'll go through the main story and the characters, and if you're wondering about my favorites, characters, plotlines, jokes, keep watching until the end and I'll have an entire list for you. But first, just a quick word.
Thank you so much for the feedback on the last video. It got 1,000 views in a week and 2,000 views within 8 days or something, which is insane to me. So I immediately started making the next one. This one. I also got a lot of valuable comments. I was just over the moon with the responses, so I really intend to keep making these videos. Thank you.
And now, to the review. If you've seen my last video, you know how much I love the show already, but that was only after 3 episodes. So the main question is, did it hold up? I won't draw this out. Here's the deal. If you want me to express this in numbers, I'd say Act 1 was a very solid 8, Act 2 was a strong 7.5, and Act 3 in comparison was probably a 6.5 for me. But let me explain. That's not at all to say that the quality kept going down or that I didn't like it. I just think the heart of the show was the strong character moments and, well-written, cohesive plots, which Act 3 saw the least of because of politics, fight scenes, and a lot of other stuff happening took the spotlight away from all these great characters. I think it became overly intertwined for a show like this. And as a non-League player, I definitely started losing track of the implications of some of the dialogues and the decisions characters made, I felt like there were too many players in this game and too many sides and not enough easily distinguishable goals for them to claim as their own unique purpose. Simply said, too many times I asked the question, why are these people not working together? And you might say that it's, the staple of a realistic political climate, and you might be right, but as a viewer, I felt like it's not serving the drama very well, that we don't have strong reference points in the conflict. It felt like, a boxing match between 6 boxers, where, everyone's just like punching whoever they reach at that very moment. It's just weird. But, was it a satisfying end of the show? I think so. I think the plots they included had a very nice arc for the most part, and they left some other threads loose. As you should if you plan to do more seasons, of course. Now, let's briefly go through the storylines of the show. I separated them into 3 categories, 3 themes, and the plots most closely related to those themes. The story of Jinx, the story of Jace, and the story of Piltover. The themes being trauma, science, and politics, respectively. Now, because this video would literally be 40 minutes long, I will dive deep on these in my next video or videos. But for now, let's take a look at these in relation to the entire show, and then I will give an overall score. Arguably, the centerpiece of Arcane is Jinx's story that deals with trauma, mental health, and trust. It's also featuring the moral anchor of the series, Vi, and probably some of the most visually interesting parts of Arcane. It's a deeply emotional, character-driven plot, so if you like good dialogue and empathizing with people, this will be your favorite part of the show most likely, and will probably make you like Arcane just on its own. Its conclusion could probably be better in my book, but the fact that the threads are still loose after the final credits, makes me give this a bit of leeway, and I will call it a job very well done regardless. The next storyline is Jace's, that deals with scientific progress, the dangers of technology, and a good amount of politics. I would definitely say this plot has characters that are way less likable for me, with confusing motivations and dubious morality, and the political aspect of the show really seeps into it, which gives us pretty interesting talking points in its own video later, but for the sake of this storyline, it's a bit complicated to see where the characters are coming from. As Jinx's story is one for the soul, Jason Victor's is more for the mind, and it's not just the fact that they are scientists. This plot gives us a lot to think about with the morality of science and progress, so if you're an intellectually curious person, you will probably enjoy this storyline the most. I enjoyed it less than Jinx's, but I still found it really entertaining. The story of Piltover and the Undercity is political in its themes and maybe a bit less tangible than the other two, but I think it's definitely distinct from them and worth talking about. I think this is the plot that is probably hardest to follow for someone not well versed in the lore of the universe, like me. As politics in real life, context is everything, and if you are missing it, you will not have a great time. The painful lack of development for some of these characters, like the council members, really hurt the show, and Mommy Medarda's inclusion at the end of the show has to be one of the most frustrating writing decisions for a viewer like me. She's unrelatable, but feels important, with really nothing to back that up. We never find out what Noxus really even is, we're just left with the vague image of a war-torn other part of the world, and the political influence over Piltover is never really explained either. The struggle for sovereignty of Zaun is a possibly interesting storyline that, again, doesn't really come to anything. The most enjoyable part of this storyline is probably Silco's reign and his adversary's attempt at a coup. I would say even if you're into political machinations, this plotline might leave you feel a bit unsatisfied. And, no wonder, Act 3 is basically all about this plot, hence the low score I gave it. Now, with these main storylines out of the way, I will just mention that there are no real B-plots in the show. All events that transpire have to do with these aforementioned themes. Or I guess you could call the fight for independence of Zaun a B-plot, but it doesn't really go anywhere, as I said. Not in this season anyways. Now let's talk about the fights and the production value a bit, as I praised the show in my earlier video for looking incredible, and for not going overboard with fanservice. Well, the latter kind of changed in the last act especially, but none of it really went overboard with the look, do you recognize this from the game? It was mostly flashy and enjoyable, and I have to give it to them. The fights were choreographed amazingly well. Punches felt heavy, movements unreal, but somehow still believable in the context of the show. So all around, I had a great time as someone who doesn't particularly enjoy fight scenes. This was exciting, short, and sweet, and always served an appropriate narrative purpose. GG well played, as the kids say. So, if I had to rate the entire show, I would gladly give it an 8 out of 10. Even though I think the later episodes paled in comparison, I would really recommend watching it, and even think that rewatches will bring some additional appreciation. Also, apologies if I didn't mention your favorite character or moment, but stay tuned for the next videos where I go into more detail about these. Let me know in the comments if you have something specific you want to see. Now for the fun part at the end here, let's give out some awards. Best editing. While this could have been any fight scene, for me, it's this somber scene instead. It's emotional, with great visual effects, and conveys the insanity and the vulnerability at the same time. Jinx realizes that these old memories are not just to be buried away anymore. She's held back by the trauma of her childhood, and she has to soon make a choice to either let go of Jinx or let go of Powder. And even though she indirectly lashes out against Vi, her sister was always a rock-steady support for her, and it's exactly Vi she needs to help her move on. Best visuals. For me, it's all the hallucinations. They are done so well, mirroring Jinx's drawings and having that menacing quality. I know it's kind of a trick they keep repeating, but I just can't get enough of these. I think it's great. Best joke. Vi's shut the hell up face just cracks me up every time, I'm sorry. Best fight scene. Okay, it's very hard to choose one really, as all are so unique that they each deserve their own segment. I think the one that takes the cake for me though is Vi's fight with Sevica. Not this one, the second one. As a viewer, I was so ready for Vi to finally have an opportunity to achieve her goal, and it seemed like Sevika was the only one standing in her way before she gets to Silco, so the stakes were high. It had that Western beginning to it, which I loved. It was clean, with no disruptions, surprise attacks and Deus Ex Machinas, just hand-to-hand combat and some big punches. And also, that vendor part, I think, was really cool. Best character moment. Alright, there's not much to say about this absolute badassery.
I would have had your son killed for this, though I suppose we're ahead on that account. Get out.
Close second would be Adult Jinx's introduction in episode 4. Best visual storytelling device. Yes, these categories are a bit arbitrary, but I wanted to highlight the lighter. The lighter is such a great idea. If you're ever wondering why screenwriting is not just dialogue, this is why. This lighter represents the spark of the mutiny. It gives this character an identity that makes him a bit more than just a crime boss, but this is the coolest use. Here, Sevika is having a conversation about conspiring against Silco, and the bad script would have had her say something like, "Okay, I'll help you." But here, instead, we get an image of her contemplating over the lighter, and finally accepting the idea of the mutiny. Even more genius is that this is a red herring. She doesn't actually accept, so this is a good way of showing how she only looks like she's in on the plan, when in reality she did not commit to it. She didn't say, "I'm in." And then this. Very subtle. And the best mustache beard hair combo obviously goes to Heimerdinger. God, what a beauty. Sorry, Vi, your hair is awesome too. And being such a character-driven show, here's the grand prize. The best character in Arcane, in my opinion, is Silco. He's a very detailed, complex character with understandable motivations, a clear moral code, as questionable as it is, consistent actions, amazing lines of dialogue, and a great character design. He dominated every scene he was in and was always interesting to watch, not to mention the outstanding voice acting of Jason Spizak. I honestly just couldn't get enough of this character, and maybe I'm weird, but I was deeply sympathetic towards Silco, even though we got plenty of reasons to hate his guts, like child labor at a probably pretty dangerous mining site. Which brings me to some tiny flaws in the writing. Worst plot device. I'm sorry, but what is the kid of a powerful crime lord doing mining shimmer? It's not even a very consequential plot device that he dies. It just shows some humanity in Jace, and then it kind of gives this woman a reason to be in on the coup, but it doesn't make sense. Anyways, it gives us the badass Silco line, so I'll just let it slide. Least earned shot moments.
Imagining yourself a hero. One final act to make you the martyr you've always seen yourself as.
Worst waste of a character. Look at this little guy. Like, how does he get so little screen time? He's a bunny goat floof thingy. Come on. Alright, who's your favorite character? What storyline did you enjoy the most? Let me know in the comments, like the video, and stay tuned for the follow-up videos on the themes. I'll see you soon. Bye.